Hey, how you doing, guys? Inky Johnson, man. Hope all is well. Welcome to another edition of Sudden Change. I want to start us off with a quote by Darwin that said, "It's not the most intelligent of species that survives. It's not the strongest of species that survive, but the one that's most willing to adapt to change." Right? I'm reminded of a story as I was traveling last year to one of my engagements to Texas A&M. Right? And I had a connecting flight. Matter of fact, I had Atlanta to Dallas, Dallas to College Station. And when I travel, I always call my wife and kind of update her on the trip, let her know how everything is going. And everything was going smooth. And I was on my last leg, right, from Dallas to College Station. And I was getting in line. I remember talking to my wife, and I'm like, "Babe, everything is going great." And right about that time, as I'm in line, I noticed the pilot coming off the plane, and he had his bags in his hand. Right? And right when he got by me, I said to him in a joking manner, like, "Man, where are you going?" Right? And he was like, "Yeah, we hit a bird." And I was like a little bird?" He's like, "Yeah, like a bird." And I was like, "No disrespect to the bird, but we can keep it pushing, right?" He was like, "Yeah, but it's blood on the plane, and sometimes they can possibly dent things, so we got to go through our procedure and protocol, and so we got to wait it out for a little bit." And I said, "Would you mind if I sit by you? I just want to understand the protocol and the procedures. You know, I fly a lot." And I introduced myself to him. He said, "Sure." When we sat down, he said, "We'll be good unless they bring the plane tow truck. And if they bring the plane tow truck, we'll have to sit probably an hour or two." And within 3 minutes, the plane tow truck showed up. And so 2 hours go by, we board a new plane, we're on the runway, getting ready to take off. Pilot comes over the intercom and says, "Guys, I hate to inform you, but we have to go back to the gate." And everybody on the plane started looking around at each other like, "Man, surely we're being punked." And he said they forgot to load the luggage. People got 38 hot. I'm talking hot, right? Like, what? And as we're riding back to the gate, I remember looking out of the window because I'm like, "Man, who forgot the luggage, man? Like, who forgot to load the luggage?" And sure enough, I look and I see a guy standing by the little cart with the luggage on it. And he's dancing, right? My man flossing. He dancing, got a Sprite in his hand. My man living La Vida Loca, right? No luggage on the plane, right? And I looked and I told the guy beside me, I said, "Man, like, I'm not even mad about the opposition or the adversity. That's not my problem." I said, "My issue is when the opposition and adversity happened, like, he didn't respond to it, right?" And I said, the arrogance of us as people, for some strange reason, we live life and we feel and we think like, "Man, when opposition or adversity happens, I'll just rise to the occasion. I'll just be ready. When it comes, I'll just be ready. I'll strap it up and be ready." No, we don't rise to the occasion. We revert back to our training, right? The individual that we was prior to the adversity, the character and integrity that we possess prior to the adversity, that's going to be the individual that shows up in the midst of adversity, not some new individual. Right? Like, adversity introduces us into who we really are as people. Like the quote says it, you don't judge the character and caliber of a person by where they stand in times of comfort and convenience. You judge the character and caliber of a person by where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. You don't rise to the occasion. You revert back to your training. Right? Like, I saw an incredible clip like a week ago. A journalist was interviewing a nurse, and the journalist was asking the nurse, like, "How do you guys do it every day? Like, how do you do it? Like, you go into an environment and you know there's the possibility of you being exposed to COVID-19. How do you and your coworkers do your job?" And when he said job, the nurse looked at him. And the nurse said, "Job? Job?" Nurse said, "This is not my job. This is my calling. This is my mission. This is what I feel I've been put on this earth to do." And so it doesn't matter what the opposition or the it doesn't matter if it's COVID-19 or if it's the Spanish flu or if it's something else. It doesn't matter the opposition or adversity. I don't rise to the occasion. I revert back to my training. This is my calling. This is my mission. This is what I feel I've been put on this earth to do. So I'm going to show up regardless, right? In life, people don't burn out because of what they do. People burn out because life makes them forget why they do it. The mission, the purpose, the passion, the fire that they first had when they first showed up, right? Not living life like a light switch, turning it on and turning it off, depending on the situation, circumstance, person, or the opposition. I got a challenge for all of us this week. Let's not live life with the arrogance and think when opposition and adversity happens, We gonna rise to the occasion. We live life with the confidence and know that we gonna revert back to our trainer. Take care. God bless. Peace.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome into part 16, three-level panel. Thanks for being on tonight. Really excited to hear from three coaches, hear their journeys and what they have to share with us. A couple ground rules real quick. We'll obviously have each coach share. They'll share their journey, then they'll share some nuggets they want, hopefully you guys to be able to apply, and then we'll take questions. If you have a question, just ask, say your name, what school you're associated, what program you're associated with, and then ask your question. If you can, try not to tell a story, just for the sake of everyone on, and then we'll keep it moving. So first up tonight, we have Coach Nick Matson, assistant coach at University of Texas, El Paso. Really excited to hear from Coach. I've gotten the pleasure to get to know him the past couple of years. Met him through Coach Contapio at Lamar. I think he's on here. Yeah, there he is. So met him through Coach, and really excited for Nick to get to share. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Nick Matson.
I appreciate it, Coach Bentley. I really do, man. It's a real pleasure to be here with you guys, and pleasure to be up here with a couple great coaches, man, that I really respect. So thank you, man. My journey. I was a walk-on and a student assistant at VMI for Duger Bockham, the current Citadel head coach. I had a great experience there, man. Awesome experience. It wasn't the experience that I probably thought it was going to be when I got there. I didn't know, what I was getting myself into at a military school. I was excited. I went there and I learned a lot about life. It changed the way I did everything in my life. It gave me structure. It taught me discipline. It taught me a lot. It taught me how to push through hard times. I credit the experience I had there, the coaching staff there with, everything, man. My junior year at VMI, blew my knee out. Basketball wasn't going too well. Coach Bockham allowed me to join his staff as a student assistant. Allowed me, help in the office, help with film, help with recruiting mailouts, whatever it was. And that was it was just a blessing, man. It was the beginning of my coaching journey. And it was, for me, it was everything. Yeah. I had no basketball background. I played a lot of basketball. I was a good high school player, a marginal college player, but I didn't come from a basketball family. I didn't know college basketball coaches, so those guys were everything to me. And after VMI, I became a coaching intern at Stanford for Johnny Dawkins. It was like a 1 year kind of a, they couldn't really have grad assistants at Stanford because nobody could get into grad school because it was such a high academic institution. So everybody that they had that was a helper of the program, kind of a lower position, was an intern. And it was 11 months, you're in and you're out. And that's as long as you can stay. So I had a great experience there. Learned so much from Coach Dawkins, his staff. Got to work closely, really kind of the first time I really learned scouting. Worked closely with Mike Schrage, head coach at Elon. He was an assistant there. Worked with Rodney Tension, the associate head coach at Cal Poly. Those guys really taught me how to scout and what to look for and things like that. And from there, I spent a year at Murray State as a grad assistant for Billy Kennedy. That was incredible for me. It was an eye-opening experience. Our staff was unreal. We had, our coaching staff, obviously Coach Kennedy, amazing coach, won at so many places, but we had Steve Prohm as an assistant on our staff. We had Amir Abdul-Rahim, Kennesaw State coach on our staff. Isaac Chu was a great mentor for me. We had those guys they were incredible. From Murray State, I got with Coach Rodney Terry at Fresno State. Coach Terry got the job. Isaac Chu, who I worked real closely with him. He had a great relationship with Coach Terry. He helped me kind of put my foot in the door to get it was like a part-time ops job. It wasn't a real ops job. It was a non-benefit type of position, very low pay. Did that for a year. Then when we moved into the Mountain West, it became a full ops job. Worked my way there and got promoted to assistant at Fresno State. From there, in 2018, we got the UTEP job, and beginning my third season at UTEP, and just an amazing place. I love everything about UTEP. It's such a special place, the history, the passion, the tradition. There's great commitment. El Paso's a hidden gem, man. It's an awesome city. So that's kind of my journey. The thing I could say from my journey, man, is that every job I got came directly with help from somebody that I worked with. So anytime I either got a job somewhere else or promoted where I was, it was because of a guy that I was working with every day. And I always say that, Mike Schrage used to always tell me, like, you can never afford to have a bad reference. And that doesn't mean that everyone's got to be your friend or you got to have a barbecue with a guy every Saturday. They just got to know that you're about the program, and they got to respect your work ethic. And when you do that, I think people will do good for you and help you. And so I just think that was important to know, as far as a few nuggets, I just want to kind of randomly touch on a few nuggets, man, that I think, whether they might seem elementary, and I don't mean to offend anyone if they're overly simplistic, but I'd be lying if I didn't say they had a huge impact on me. And the number one thing that had an impact on my kind of ascent and growth in coaching was learning how to manage my personal energy. And it sounds kind of like a weird thing, but knowing what it took for me to be the best myself, to be my best self every day, knowing how much sleep I needed, knowing what my diet needed to consist of, knowing did I need to watch a motivational video to get going that day. Coach Terry used to always talk about coaches that one day they'd come in practice and they'd have all this energy and they're coaching everybody up as an assistant. And then the next day they come in and they disappear and nobody sees them. And he always used to tell me when I would ride in the car with him early on at Fresno State, don't be that guy, manage your personal energy. And I say about Coach Terry because to me, he's the hardest worker I've ever seen. I've never seen anyone that's 24/7, 365 about the program, about getting better, about improving. He has an incredible energy level. And so for me, I'll tell a great story. I went to the doctor about probably 4 years ago, just for a regular checkup, just getting a checkup, getting all my levels tested, and got the results back. The doctor calls me in. Levels were awful, man. Blood pressure through the roof. Everything wrong. He looked at me. He said, Nick, your career, your profession, you check every box for being unhealthy. He said, you don't sleep much. You're traveling, you're recruiting, you're going to games, you're sleeping in different beds. He said, you have a poor diet. You're eating all these snacks and things that kids are eating that are running and burning all these calories. And you're not burning the same amount of calories as them. He said, you got a lot of stress in this business about your job, your status, your security, whether your game planning and your coaching is leading to winning and losing, that you have a ton of stress. You're creating stress in your life. All right. You're having all this screen time, blue light, you're watching film, you're doing all these things. So I say that it's a long story, but I never considered that. I was just living day to day and coaching. And because of that, I wasn't being my best self because everything was about the grind. And when he told me that, he recommended me a book. And it's a book I really strongly recommend. It's called Sleep Smarter by Sean Stevenson, Sleep Smarter. And it's not just about sleep, but it's about these small changes that you can make that can just change your energy level during the day, your focus, all these things that are going to make you a way better coach. And that's why I'm taking the time to talk about this, because this thing really changed me. And if you can find a way to get a little bit more healthy, none of us are ever going to be amazing. We coach basketball, and it is what it is. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of factors that maybe aren't the most healthy and that we can't control. But if you can make a couple tweaks, I guarantee your energy level will completely rise. Your focus level will completely rise. Every area of your life will improve. And, two tips I'll share from the book. Number one, man, if you can, and this is really, I feel stupid saying this to you guys. If you can buy some blackout curtains for your room, I'm telling you, it's the best $20 you'll ever spend. All right. It's the best money you'll ever spend, man. Just getting that sleep, putting yourself to sleep, man, will change everything. And then number two, if you cannot look at your cell phone an hour and a half before bed. I used to sit in bed every night, checking verbal commits, checking offers, checking tweets. And what I didn't realize is that I'm trying to go to bed, and it's completely counterintuitive to everything that is in life. You're sending radiation and light into your brain and then trying to go to bed, and it's not going to work. And I'm sure this is something that you guys have all heard. I just wanted to repeat it quickly because it changed my life. Back to basketball. I was blessed to work with Jerry Wainwright for 4 years at Fresno, and I consider him a mentor. He sends out a lot of coaching notes. Some of you guys may have seen him. He sends out mass mailings to the entire, all the people he knows in the coaching community with incredible nuggets every day. And there's one I'll never forget. It's a quote from Ray Allen. It says, "The magic trick to shooting is that there is no magic trick. The 100 shots I take after practice the day before a game can be the difference between me going 5 for 8 or 1 for 5. And I just thought that was interesting because that guy's, man, he's a world-class guy. And he was talking about how much just 100 shots after practice the day before the game could totally change his performance the next night. And, so many times when we're in the season as coaches, I don't want to say forget, but we don't make enough time for player development. And I don't know how your guys' leagues work, but our league in Conference USA, when we leave, we're out, man. We leave Wednesday and we play Thursday and Saturday on the road, and we're back either late Saturday night or Sunday. And if you don't get up some shots, if you don't get up some shots Wednesday night or maybe the opposing team you're playing at, you don't get enough gym time, or maybe you do get gym time, but everything's focused on walkthrough and scouting, and you don't get up enough shots. I think as assistants, we can all do a better job of grabbing a guy. Hey, let's get 10 minutes of shooting here. We're leaving tomorrow for a trip. This 10 minutes could really help. Hey, let's get 20 minutes of ball handling. That could be the difference between a turnover the next night in the game that costs us the game because the ball slipped out of our hands because we haven't gotten enough reps in the last few days. So I love in-season player development. I think it's, the margin of error in our game, as we all know, man, is like this. We are all so competitive, so close. All the players are so talented. What's going to make the difference? It could be one shot. It could be one errant pass. It could be one, great move. And as assistants, man, if we can, and we can all do better, just give 10 to 15 minutes with in-season player development. Another area I want to touch on is the rules, man. I don't know how your conferences work and your governing bodies, everyone's different, but our rules are constantly changing. I mean, these things are changing every week, and it can be hard to keep track of, to be honest. One thing I would recommend is truly learning how to calculate the APR score. With transfers, with all that's happening, guys, coming in, coming out, new rules, maybe immediate eligibility coming for transfers, knowing how to calculate your own APR and knowing how a player that's leaving your team affects your APR or how a new player coming could potentially affect your APR is so important, man. I remember the reason I learned how to calculate it, we were early on at Fresno State when we had just gotten the job. They were really struggling with APR, and there had been a lot of turnover between the coaching change, but between when Coach Cleveland had left and Coach Terry had got there. Like most coaching searches, a few guys left. And we also had our academic woman leave and our compliance person leave. So no one, could calculate the APR. So I remember myself and Mike Schwartz, who's now associate head coach at Tennessee, we were calculating APR like every day, trying to figure out, who stays, who goes, how does this new recruit impact us and all that. And I think that's a good one, man. If you're looking ahead, I think another thing is the new name, image, and likeness stuff. We can look ahead. We can say, hey, how could I find an angle here? How could I learn about this to help our program or help student athletes within the rules? All this stuff is coming down the pipe, and it's changing. And I just think learning about it can really help. Another thing I want to talk, just a couple random points. I had a coach tell me one time, he said, I get so many resumes when I had a job open that say, I'll do anything and everything for the job. He said, I get that line all the time. I get it through email, text, call. Coach, I'll do anything and everything if you hire me. And he used to say, the problem is that they don't know what anything and everything is. And what his point was is that you can be the hardest worker. You can have the most loyalty. You can have the most great personality. You can have all these great guiding principles. But if you don't know the actual job responsibilities and work your craft and improve in all those different areas, it's hard. It's just like, myself, some of the other guys, we could walk into some other businesses, maybe doctors, mechanics, home builders. We could walk in there and we can really mean well, and we could have the best heart and the best work ethic. But if we don't know the steps to complete those businesses, it's going to be tough for us. And he used to always tell me that. He used to say, hey, you want to be an assistant someday? And this was when I was younger. He used to say, you should just start calling different assistants that you can get their phone numbers and asking them what their job responsibilities are. He said, because our business isn't like the medical industry where we have a standard protocol for what, every program does things different. This assistant at this school does one thing. This assistant does something totally different. We don't have a scheduled model where you just continually move up or you just learn a set amount of tasks and it all happens for you. Everywhere's different. And so if you can call guys and say, hey, what do you do? And get a list of things. And now you got a list of all these responsibilities. And then you can go down the list and say, well, which ones don't I know how to do? I don't know how to do this, this, and this. Well, then maybe you can teach yourself or call somebody that can help you. And now all of a sudden you've built your skill set. Now you've built your bag. Now you got all these different things. And some of the things I mean by that is scouting and game prep. I think a lot of programs do scouting reports differently. You can call guys, hey, how do you do scouts? What things do you present to your team? How many actions do you guys walk through? And so forth. I think recruiting, everyone recruits different. My favorite quote, I'll share it. Coach Terry, he says it to us every day, man, our staff. He says, in recruiting, there can be no gun pointed against you. And what he means by that is not, in a recruit circle, when it comes down to it, not everybody has to be for you. Not everybody has to be saying he should go to UTEP or saying he should go to your school. But nobody can be against you. All right? Those people that might be against you, you have to make them indifferent. You have to make them neutral. So, he used to love saying that. I truly believe that. And what I think what he meant by that and what he means by it is that there can't be anyone in the recruitment that you haven't touched, that you haven't reached out to, that you've maybe overlooked and said, hey, I don't think they're going to be that important in his decision. I think we all naturally say that. But that one person can be the swing vote in the recruitment. That one person that maybe we didn't call because we thought he wasn't a factor can make the difference. And so I think when they sit down at that table at the end of the day, as long as they heard from you and that they know you have their son's best interest and you've done everything you can to not put anyone against you, but at least for you or neutral, you give yourself an opportunity. And I love hearing that. Scheduling's changing. Do we know the rules? there's so many rules, man. I keep talking about compliance. I'm beating a dead horse, but again, it's changing. It already changed this year with MTEs and how many non-Division I schools or how many Division I schools or how many neutral site games, things like that can really help, and then the last thing, I've been trying to improve on myself this off season is our scouting and our game prep. I've been going back through our scouts from this year, from games and just watching games. And I do a lot of stuff with our defense here. And I watch it and I say, hey, this action that we got beat on, man, we really got beat on low cross screens a lot this year. And I try to look at myself and just say, hey, did I forget to cover it? Or did I cover it, but I didn't cover it well? I taught it the wrong way. Or was it just somewhere in between there? All right. And then what can we do different next year with all our low cross screens? Or what could we, our ball screen defense was great on the side, but for whatever reason, when they got a ball screen in the top or the slot, we got crushed on those things. And just trying to get better in scouting and player development, so that's what I got for now, Dave.
Awesome. No, that's really good stuff, and obviously a lot of people can apply. We'll open it up for questions now. Obviously, we're kind of a little bit informal here. If you just want to chime in, unmute yourself, introduce yourself, and you can go ahead and ask a question.
Coach Matson is
Hey, Coach.
MVP with Missouri Western State. I remember you when you came to recruit me with Coach Prom, Coach Amir back when I was in high school. My question is, like you said about the relationships, how big do you still bank on those relationships to when you're going through like time with your players now, to go back to refer back to things that happened back in Murray or in past situations, or do you just kind of go with your head coach and figure it out with him?
It's a great question. And do you mean like relationships with those old staff members?
Yes.
Yeah, man, I try as much as I can. Some of them are really busy and head coaches and hard to get a hold of, but it's funny you talk about Amir. He's one of the best I've ever seen with player relationships. And I always tell him that every time I see him. He's incredible with it. I just think I do, man. I use all those past experiences. When I was in those roles, to be honest, man, I was a grunt worker. I was a watcher, I wasn't, and it was great. That's what I'm saying. I've had the pleasure to watch great coaches handle situations and coach guys and give advice. And from there, I was able to grow and take from everywhere to do that.
And I had a second question. What were some things that you've taken from each stop to help prepare you to hopefully eventually move up the ladder to be a head coach? Man,
I've seen this on a lot of clinics lately. Know who you are. All those the 4 head coaches I got a pleasure to work with, they all really knew who they were. They were different in certain ways, but they all know who they were. Coach Dawkins was meticulous about everything. If there was a piece of dirt on the carpet, he could see it from 1,000 feet away and pick it up. He was meticulous, most organized, the most sharp you'll find. Incredible in scouting. Coach Kennedy, he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He had been a head coach. He'd won at Centenary. He'd won at Southeastern Louisiana. And he was going to do exactly, and he was going to keep it simple. He was going to keep it simple. He was going to focus on 3 things, probably 3 great things that he could control, and everything was going to be about toughness. Coach Terry, everything's going to be about blue collar mentality. Everything's going to be about trying to grind and grit and, have a mentality as a team that we're, trying to think the way to say this, man, we're the underdogs. We have a chip on our shoulder. We're coming for blood, that kind of thing. Everything is us against the world mentality, that we want to build.
Thank you.
Coach, Coach Matson, how you doing, man? It's Coach Trey Montgomery here at Penn. Just listening to that, it's kind of funny. I think the coaching world is pretty small because, how small the degrees of separation are between every coach in here. I mean, I know Tim Pete, we were recruited together at Stanford, but I was also recruited by Billy Kennedy at Southeastern and Coach Prom and stuff. And so there's always a connection there. But my real question is, you got a good mixture of coaches that are at different stages in their careers, whether it be just beginning in certain aspects or been some years in the game. Can you talk a little bit about how important balance is for you? I know, especially for younger coaches, like their mentality is just to kind of get to the grind, put their head down and get busy. And, as you get older, you start to have families and this, that, and the third. Can you talk about you starting off or where you are now with the level of balance that you have?
Oh man, I think that's the hardest question that we all deal with, and the best question. It's kind of what I touched on a little bit with what I was speaking about with my health, and in a different way. Everything in coaching is grind, and sometimes that can be counterintuitive to what's best for your family or your health or your mental strength. But what I've found is that when you do have balance, like you said, when you do, sleep well or spend time with your family or eat better or take care of yourself, you become a better coach and you become sharper. You become more fresh. You have better interactions with your players, better interactions with your colleagues. It's a certain karma about it that I feel. And I had the opposite karma for so much of my career. I was in the office the entire day, entire night, drinking coffee and Diet Mountain Dew all day, living and dying with every inch. And the biggest investment I ever made, like I said, was reading that book that I keep talking about, Sleep Smarter, which taught me about a lot of things 4 years ago and just helped me become better in every area of my life.
Thank you.
Nick, what's going on, man? This is Kyle Combs at Piedmont College. How you doing, man?
Hey, what's up, Kyle? How you
doing? What do you think the biggest hurdle was for you leaving that ops role and going into an assistant position?
That was the hardest for me. That was the hardest because I think, and this isn't just basketball, but in every job, you need to have, certain experience to get a job. But how can you have those experiences if you don't have that job? For instance, recruiting experience or whatever, on the court experience. And the thing I would say is to do as much as you physically can in the role that you have right now. Whatever in the rules that you have to operate from your position, do as much as you physically can. Get as much extra responsibility as you can. Maybe you can't physically recruit a player from the operations position, but you can find out information about recruits. You can look at lists. You can learn about every AAU program, who's their coach, or what region of the country they're from. How does the AAU sneaker circuit work? Where are the events? You can learn all that stuff so that you're informed. Same with player development. Maybe you haven't been on the court yet. You're in the operations role. You can watch videos. You can know in your mind, hey, if I got 30 minutes with the bigs on this end, this is exactly what I would do. This is the type of tone I would have in my voice. This is the type of 3-4 drills I would do in my 30 minutes. Or if I was with the guards on the other end, same thing. I would do this. And I think you can just get as close as you can within the rules of your position.
Appreciate that, Nick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Coach, how you doing? It's Sean Tucker, Cambridge South Dorchester High School. With the non-existence of kind of a live period when you're out in the circuit and get an opportunity to see these kids, what are some things that you guys are doing as far as recruiting? Yeah, I know it's a little bit challenging, it's a little bit difficult. Can you talk about some things, some areas that you have grown, or maybe some deficiencies that you're facing right now in this time of not being able to actually be out at a live period?
Yeah. Hey, Coach, it's hard, man, because everybody looks good on film. It's we're trying to be more organized than ever because you're right. Guys can really slip through the cracks right now because you're not seeing them. You're seeing highlight videos. You're relying on word of mouth, lists, things like that. the number one thing we're doing is, first things first, addressing our program needs. If we know that we need a 2 and a 5 or a 4 and a 3, that helps narrow down a little bit of the workload. Now we can lock in on everyone that's close to those positions, and then, create film, follow up more, create depth charts, talk to the kids, talk to their parents, see how, would we be a good fit for them? Would they be a good fit for us? Vice versa. But so the 3 things we've kind of done is, again, we've tried to narrow down. For us, we only have 2 scholarships available next year, so tried to narrow that down. We know in the back of our mind transfers could be eligible immediately, so we got to probably leave a scholarship open for a situation like that in the spring, and just trying to be more. We need to be more connected as a staff during this time now than ever. Because we're all doing everything electronically, so we got to know who we talk to, when we talk to them, who we haven't talked to, continually monitor everything.
Does anyone have one more question for Coach Matson?
I got a question. Coach Matson, Sacramento High School. Just want to kind of follow up on that last question, but more in regards to what you guys are doing to stay communicating with your own team, because you've been away from them. What are you doing on a weekly basis?
Yeah, no, man, it's we've been doing team Zooms every Tuesday and Thursday. So we do team Zoom every Tuesday, Thursday, and then they do Monday. They do a team Zoom with the strength coach. Tuesday we do a team Zoom where we talk about offense. So we'll just try to keep it simple. We'll talk about either our transition offense, maybe our late clock offense, our baseline out of bounds, something like that on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, we'll do a team Zoom about defense. So we'll do, hey, the first one about a month ago, we did ball screen defense. We just showed clips over the Zoom from our games last year of good and bad ball screen defense. Same thing. We did one on blocking out and rebounding. We did one team Zoom about our transition defense. So we've been trying to reach guys 3 times a week, once Zoom for strength and conditioning, once for offense, once for defense.
Appreciate that, Coach.
Yeah. Awesome. Shoot, Coach, I think you gave a lot of people some stuff they can take back and apply to their program. I saw a lot of people when you wrote the sleep stuff down, pick up a pen and start writing. So really good stuff. You got anything you want to close with before we transition?
Yeah, man. I just have one last quote, and I love quotes, but you're never as far away as you think you are. And a couple changes you can make to your philosophies, whatever, your lifestyle, your habits, 1 to 2 small changes, man, and you can make a huge improvement and change your life overnight.
Awesome. No, that's really good. Coach, I appreciate you coming on. I saw you drop your info in the chat. So obviously you guys make sure you take advantage of him and hitting him up afterwards and staying in contact. So Coach Matson, I appreciate you coming on, sharing with us tonight.
Man, I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we've got Coach Jeff Battle at Providence College. Coach Battle and I go back to his days at Wake when I was kind of on the camp grind. I had read a book in high school. It was formerly called Walk On. Now I think A-Dub changed it to Teammates Matter. And in the book, he really spoke highly of Coach Battle. And when I got to Wake camp, I knew that Coach was one that I wanted to make sure that I could try and connect with. And after lunch one day, got back to the practice gym in the Miller Center, and Coach was sitting on the bleachers, and I just went over and introduced myself and started talking. And we've been fortunate that he's been gracious to stay in touch with me to this day. So I'm really excited for Coach Battle to come on and share with us tonight. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Coach B.
Appreciate it, Dave. I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys having me, man. I know it's late. But I think this is great. Anytime we can get together and, talk and pass nuggets on each other. Coach Matson, thanks so much. Appreciate everything there. I'm a simple guy, man. And, my journey is pretty cut and dry. I'll say this, everywhere I've been, it hasn't been because of a resume. It's been because of somebody referred me to someone, because of what I did in my past, in terms of my work, in terms of who I am. So that's kind of been my, mantra to move on. So when I first started out, I didn't even want to be a college coach. My goal, getting into this thing was just be a high school coach and a guidance counselor, and then just ride that out. I didn't even have any aspirations of coaching in college. And then I started out as a graduate assistant at the University of Delaware. And after I got done with that, I got offered a high school job in Delaware. And so what happened was, it was ironic. We would practice at Delaware State over the holidays because our gym didn't have, heat and stuff like that at the time. So we would practice there. And so at our practices, Coach Jones, who was the head coach at Delaware State at the time, would watch our practices. And after practice, he would say, hey, he introduced himself to me. I introduced myself to him. He said, man, I really enjoy watching your practices. And, would you be interested in coaching on the college level? And I said, Coach, not really. Really like what I'm doing. I'm excited about this. So that's kind of where it went. Then the next year, same thing happened. And he came up to me again and he said, man, if I ever have a spot on my staff, I'm going to hire you. He goes, because you're really good at what you do. I've been watching your practice now for 2 years. I can use a guy like you on my staff. And so I didn't really think anything of it. I just went about my business. And then the third year, he had a spot open. And I said, you know what, Coach, I'm going to take you up on it. I'm going to go for the challenge. And that's kind of how I ended up on the college scene. I was lucky there. I was there for 3 years. And then after my third year at Delaware State, I went to the Final Four in New Orleans, and I'm checking in the hotel. And a friend of mine comes up to me and taps me on the shoulder. He says, JB, would you be interested in leaving Delaware State? And I said, yeah, I mean, if it's the right situation, we'll see what happens. He goes, well, good friend of mine, Skip Prosser, just got the Loyola job, and he's looking for a guy. I told him about you. He's waiting for you to call him. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, when you check into your room, go up to your room and call him. He's waiting for you to call. And I said, I'm not calling this guy. He doesn't know me from a can of paint. Well, I go up, I throw my bags down, I pick up the phone, I call him, Coach, this is Jeff Battle. He said, yeah, man, I've heard, he said, I got the job. I've been on the job for a month and I've heard your name 10 times already. He goes, you must be pretty good at what you do because everybody's talking about you. And I said, well, Coach, I don't know about that, but, I just wanted to reach out to you. Boom. Long story short, he offered me the job. We were together. We had a great run, left from there. We were only there 1 year. They were 2-25 at Loyola the year before we got there. We ended up winning 17 games, winning the MAC tourney. And at the time, it was the biggest turnaround in Division I history. And so we were able to springboard from that and get the Xavier job. And was at Xavier for 8 years. Again, had a great run, really good players, really good teams. And then from there, went to Wake Forest. And you guys know I was there forever, 13 years. Big time run there, great players, pros. And, so we had a lot of success there, obviously in the ACC. And I was fortunate enough there, which is ironic because it's going to get back to when I talk about my Nuggets a little bit, that I was able to be there for 3 head coaches. And that's kind of out of the norm these days. No one does that. I was there, with Coach Prosser, of course, Coach Gaudio, Coach Bzdelic, and was fortunate enough to be on all 3 of those guys' staff. So, that's something that, doesn't happen. It's a rarity these days. So, was blessed to be there with that. And then, was able to, after the situation happened at Wake Forest, took a year off. And that was one of the best things that I did too, just so you guys know, was able to recharge the batteries a little bit like Coach Matson was talking about, get my, study the game, go watch practices, see how other guys do things. Because I'd been there for 13 years. So I kind of knew how I did things, but the fact to learn other things, going to NBA practices and stuff like that was really beneficial. And, then I took the year off, and then Ed Cooley, who's one of my best friends in the business. I've known Coach for 25 years. And even when I was at Wake, he would call me after every season, hey, JB, I need you up here. Can you come up here with me? And I just never did because we had it going at Wake. I liked where I live. I liked the part of the country that I was living in, and for the recruiting and that kind of thing. So was able to hook on with him. We were able to get together, and there's nothing like, working with a good guy, but also working with your best friend. And he's been terrific, been with him for 5 years. And, we've had a lot of success here at Providence and looking to continue that. But, I said all that because none of that I just mentioned to you in the journey required a resume, required, any of that type of thing. You know what I mean? And so those things are good, but they don't really get you the job. They don't get you your next job. And for me, in terms of the journey thing, it's always been, my thing with the Nugget thing, it's always been about who I'm with, not where I'm at. And so I think a lot of young coaches get caught up in the rat race and thinking, I got to be at this high major, I got to be here, I got to be there. And, to me, that's not what it's about. It's about who you with. Because you can be at one of those quote unquote great high major paying schools and be miserable. And there's nothing worse than being in a situation where you're uncomfortable and you're miserable, and you're just not feeling what you have to do. And so for me, that's always been my advice. Anytime I talk to a coach, a young coach that's getting in, that calls me or talks to me, we kick it about advice. One thing I could tell them is don't get caught up on that. It's more important who you with. And I've been with 5 really, really good guys. Good coaches, great coaches, but really good people. Like I mentioned, Coach Jones, Coach Prosser, of course, is my mentor and everything I do now, whether it's recruiting, how I handle myself is all, contributed to him and what he taught me. Coach Gaudio, Coach Bisdelic, Coach Cooley. These guys are great men, as opposed to being great basketball coaches. So I've been blessed to be around some really, really good people. And so that's why I think that little nugget there is really, really important. The other thing that's really worked for me, and everybody's situation is different, is, I try to be, you have to be humble. You have to be humble in this business. You can't be around this business walking around thinking you have all the answers. You can't, so I'm always open. I'm always open to learn. I'm always open to listen. I don't, even though I might think I know everything, I don't know everything. And so even being on, calls like this and listening to Coach, and listening to Coach Broadus next, I'm learning. I'm constantly learning and opening up and trying to be better at what I do. And so, I've always tried to pride myself on being humble and being consistent. You want, at the end of the day, when you're done coaching or whatever, you want them to say, man, that dude there, he was the same. He every day, no matter if I met him, if I saw him on the road recruiting, if I ran into him at the mall, if I ran into him, no matter what, I was the same. And, Coach Prosser used to say, you always want to be a basketball. He said, you always want to be a basketball as a person, not a football. And I was like, Coach, what the hell is that? He said, Coach, think about it. If you bounce a ball, where's it coming? Well, it's coming right back to you. You bounce a football, it can go anywhere. You never know where it's going to be. So you want to be consistent. You want to be a basketball. You want to know, people want to know what they're getting from you all the time. So those are kind of things that I've kind of, lived by in my career. And like I said, I'm not perfect by any means, but I've been able to maintain in this business for a long time. And I'm proud of the fact that I've been able to have that, consistency and length in the business, because it's not easy. It's hard. It's really hard. Winning games, the pressure, as assistants on the call, pressure from the head coaches to get players, get your guys better, win. It's hard. It's not easy. But, at the end of the day, we're in it for the kids. We're in for development, making these guys, young men, moving forward when they're done with their careers with us, that they're ready for the real world. And that's what it's about at the end of the day. And so, that being said, I get asked this last question, and then I'll open it up for questions. Coach, you've been in this thing for 30 years. You've been really, really successful. Coached a lot of guys who are playing in the pros, whatever, been to the tournament, done a lot of things. Why aren't you a head coach? And so, it's important to me. It is. It really is important to me. It's something that if the right situation came about, by all means, I would jump at it. But I've always been a guy, I've never had an agent. I've never had any type of representation. And so I'm not a self-promoter. I'm not a guy that's going to be on Twitter saying I recruited this guy, recruited that guy. So I'm kind of the guy behind the scenes that I want to let my work, do what I need to do to get me where I need to be. And so that doesn't work for everybody. I get it, and there's nothing wrong with guys who do it the other way. But I'm content with myself, even if that doesn't happen, by the way I've carried myself and what I've done in the business. So that's kind of why that hasn't happened. And, when I was younger, that was the deal, to chase it. And, and I had some personal loss. I lost my wife to cancer. And so I kind of took a different route after that. That changed my whole outlook on this whole thing, like what's really important, and so, along with Coach Matson was talking about, that kind of intertwines with that about the balance. Don't ever neglect that. Don't neglect your family, because life is short, man. You never know. So that kind of, took me to another route in terms of my career. But fortunately now I'm back on track with that. And so, moving forward, we'll see what happens. But, that's kind of my journey, kind of what's worked for me, and just the kind of where the way that I go about my everyday life and my everyday business, in this profession. So again, is that for everybody? I can't say, but it's been pretty good for me. And, hopefully I can continue to have success and be around good people.
We'll go ahead and open up for questions. Obviously, just introduce yourself, jump in, and ask your question.
Coach Battle, quick question for you. I hope all is well. Safet Castro at Rider University. You've been at some really good institutions, both with good people, and you guys have been really successful. Regardless of that, how have you been able to manage the pressure, especially being at the high major level, whether it's game to game, practice to practice, and whatnot?
Well, I think one thing you have to do is be prepared, and the pressure is going to come with the job. And I think one thing I learned is to never get too high or never get too low. And, you're going to lose some games, you're going to win some games. And everybody knows you win 2 in a row, fans are loving you, everybody's loving you. The greatest thing since Cheerios, you lose 2 or 3 in a row, they ready, the world's going to end. You go to the supermarket, everybody's looking at you sideways, they ready to, kick you out of town. So we have to maintain a level of, just kind of keep it even keeled. And so, there's a lot of pressure to win the games. We know that, but at the end of the day, that's what we signed up for.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Coach Battle, this is Brian Graves over at North Carolina Central.
What's up, Coach?
I just wanted to ask, what are your some key personality traits that has kept you hired at these great institutions and with these great head coaches? What are some key personality traits that you think you possess?
The biggest thing I think is organization, being organized. A lot of head coaches, they have a lot on their plate. They're going 100 miles an hour, whether they're speaking, whether they're, whatever they're doing. And so, not only keeping myself organized, but helping him stay organized as well. So being organized is huge, I think, especially for an assistant, because you're on call all the time. Something may happen, coach may have to go something may happen. You might have to run the program that day. So, being organized and knowing that at any time, I might be the guy. So just preparing for that moment, being organized, I think is something that's really important.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
No problem.
Coach Battle, Sean Tucker, Cambridge South Dorchester High School.
Hey, Coach.
Outside of wins, what does success look like to you? And has it changed from your earlier time starting off coaching until now?
Well, I think the big thing for me, and I know this may sound, I don't know how you would take this, but success for me is our guys. When those guys graduate, when they get their degree, there's nothing better to me, Coach, than getting a call or a text from a former player. Because when that happens, that lets me know that I did right by them while they were here. And I think that's a big thing with programs. How engaged are your former players? Do they still come back? Are they still in touch with you? Because if they're not, then that means something was up. You didn't fulfill what you said when you recruited them. We tell guys all the time when they sign, this is not a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. I want to be in your life for the next 40 years. I want to get invited to your wedding, on and on. So when you get those calls and those guys walk across the stage and they get that degree, to me, that's success. Other than the wins and the losses, the winning the game part of it, that the life stuff is a success. And so we have to continue to do that with our young men.
Coach Battle, Nigel Thomas, North Carolina Central University. Hope all is well.
What's up, Coach?
Not much. Had a question about your relationship with Coach Cooley. You guys say your friendship goes back 25 years. And a lot of people talk about hiring friends in this business. What do you think separated that dynamic when that hire came about, and how has worked when you talk about hiring friends in the business?
Well, that's a great question. It's funny because I met Coach when he was an assistant. He was at Boo Williams recruiting. It was his first trip out on the road. He had been a restricted guy, whatever, but it was his first trip on the road. And I met him at Boo Williams in the spring, and he didn't know anything about recruiting, and he was just flustered. And you could tell he was kind of, didn't know what to do, who to look at, get organized and that kind of thing. And I went up to him and put my arm around him, and I introduced myself. And I said, "Yo, man, you all right?" He's like, "Nah, man, this is my first day on the road, da-da-da-da." So I actually literally helped him, showed him where to get the book, how to get organized for the day, highlight your games, here's the courts, boom, boom, boom. And he said, "Wow, I never thought about doing all this stuff." So that's where our friendship started. And so from there, we were like, he thought he would work for me one day because I'm older than him. I'm 8 years older than him. He said, he thought he would work for me. So then we had this little pact. Whoever gets the head job first, we would work with each other. So that's kind of how it all came about. And he never forgot that. So when he became a head coach, I was his first call. And so, like I said before, I didn't want to leave where I was at the time, but we always wanted to do that. And so, when I had the situation with my wife, he was the first one to reach out to me. So it was easy to differentiate the friendship from the work because we're just so close. We're like family, but we still fuss and fight, like anybody else. But at the end of the day, we respect each other and we make it work.
Coach Battle, how you doing? I apologize for logging in late. This is Terry here from Chicago. Man, what's up, fam? I apologize, coaches. I got lost track of time. I had my grandbaby here. I just want to let you know when I heard you speaking tonight, I had to make sure I logged on to get some wisdom from you, bro. How you doing today?
Oh, great, man. Great to see you.
Man, I'm so happy to see you, man. Hey, guys, y'all don't know, man, Coach Battle is the best in the business, man. We go back 25 years, man.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Hey, Coach Battle, how are you? This is Sam Ebersold, former Division III UW Oshkosh player. So you said you stayed at Wake Forest for 13 years and you retained your job throughout many coaches from leaving and coming. What was kind of the one thing that they always mentioned to you about why they thought they wanted to keep you on staff? Was there one thing that set you apart from any new candidates that possibly would come in and take the job?
Well, a couple of things. I think one, how you carry yourself, what people say about you, what you did with the previous coaches in the previous administration, the athletic director, the president, the people there, how you treated people while you were there. I think that goes a long way. And again, how you carry yourself is huge, and I've always tried to pride myself on carrying myself the right way. The second thing I think is loyalty, being loyal to all those previous head coaches and, that kind of thing there, because that's the key. At the end of the day, how loyal are you to your head coach? And so, I think I had built up a pretty good name prior to those other coaches. And so it kind of just carried over. And so that's, I learned that from Coach Prosser, how you treat everybody. And that kind of worked out well for me.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Coach, I'm going to ask you, obviously you just mentioned Coach Prosser, and earlier when you were talking, you mentioned the importance and obviously getting see it firsthand, working camp a little bit. Just can you talk about some of the tangible things how he's impacted your career and what you do to apply what he's taught you in your everyday career?
Yeah, Dave, that's a great one there. Everything that I do has something to do with what he taught me. And the biggest thing that he taught me, and I don't want to be redundant, was how to treat people. I mean, he had a way to make everybody feel special. It didn't matter who he was talking to. He would talk to, we go recruiting, the bags would come out. He would talk to guys at the baggage claim. I mean, everybody just he treated everybody the same, made everybody feel like they were important. And so I always took that from him, how I carry myself, how I act, how I treat people. I talk to everybody, have conversations with everybody. You don't talk down to people. You treat people the right way. He's taught me how to recruit. I had no idea how to recruit, when I came to him at that level. The organization piece with the recruiting is stuff that I still carry on today. And then obviously the basketball knowledge that he had as well. But the biggest thing though, Dave, was, how to carry yourself and how to treat people with respect.
Does anyone else have anything for Coach B?
Yeah, Coach Battle, Kareem Brown here, Niagara County Community College. Good. You've been obviously in the business for a long time. What's one or two things that you've learned in the last 3 months that you've added to your learning, your tool bag?
Well, I learned technology for one, with the Zoom stuff. That's all new to me, and the new virtual recruiting. I'm trying to get used to that. I'm a hands-on guy. I like to, physically see guys play. I like to watch guys warm up. I like to watch their body language. I like to see how they compete. And so I can't do that now. So I'm a little bit flustered right now in terms of that. So I'm still trying to add on to my toolbox in terms of the recruiting. But, the conversation piece is still there, still able to communicate. But the biggest thing is the technology for me, Coach. And, I've been doing this a long time, and that's something that I alluded to trying to keep getting better at. I'm trying to get better with the technology because I'm just an old school guy. I still do pencil and pad. I still, I'm trying to, keep up with the times with all you young guys. And so that's what I'm trying to add to my tool thing right now.
Appreciate it.
I got a question. Coach Battle, my name is Jonathan Finkel. I'm a Philly guy just like yourself.
How you doing? Good.
So you've been in multiple places, for a very long period of time. Have you found that beneficial as far as establishing connections and recruiting bases in those areas for, now that you're at Providence, you were in North Carolina, and you were at Xavier. So have you been able to develop, really good recruiting bases in those two states?
Yeah, especially, I've been North Carolina. I was there for 13 years. So, we still recruit the South a little bit. We have 2 or 3 guys on our team now from the South, from North Carolina, South Carolina region. But I've, developed contacts all over. So I feel like I'm versatile in that area, that I can go anywhere, to recruit. So that part of it has been, as long as you've been in it and you develop, contacts. And, like Coach Head mentioned when he's on here, Terry, I've known him for 25 years. He's in Chicago. I feel like I can go to Chicago and recruit if I needed to. So it's not just pigeonhole yourself to one particular area. And I think that makes you more marketable as well, the more areas that you can develop the ties in.
Coach, can I ask you a question real quick?
Absolutely.
I want to know, and maybe I just open up to all coaches, man. I'm a high school coach, and like on your do you actually have a depth chart? How many kids are you recruiting at one position? And you know, like, and how do you like you know, like my thing is, I had a kid that he committed to one school and the coach left and they didn't want him no more. You know what I mean? That kind of bothers me, you know, but I'm like your depth chart. What is it? Is that important to you guys? Or as a high school coach, what do you want me to tell my guys right now? You know, I'm telling them, hey, you know, it's more, they recruit more than one guy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, Coach Cooley doesn't like to recruit a lot of guys. That's just the way he is. You know, if I come at him with all these different guys, he's going to say, JB, come on, this is way too much. So we probably go maybe five deep at each position. But you're right. And Terry, I tell guys all the time when I'm recruiting them, you know, just like you're looking at other schools, you know, we're looking at other guys. So the thing is, it's always, we don't want to admit it, but a lot of times it's first come, first serve. So if I got three guys, there is going to be a ranking order. There is going to be a depth chart. You know, I like this guy. We like this guy, you know, number one, he's number two, he's number three. So you go right down the line. If I offer kid number one and he says, I'm coming, that's who I'm rolling with. So it is a pecking order, and that's just the way it is. But I think you got to be honest and upfront with the coach and the kid right out of the gate and let them know. Because we're in this big offer world right now where kids are collecting offers. So, you know, blessed to receive this, blessed to receive that. And then if they get mad sometimes when we don't offer, well, you can flip it back and say, if I offer you, are you coming?
Right.
So, you know, it can work both ways.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Any last questions for Coach Battle?
I got one. Coach, this is Joey Cantafia from Lamar University. I know you talked about being consistent and being the same every day. I'm sure you've had days where you're not feeling it or you're down about something. What are maybe some things you've done internally to hype yourself up and maintain that level of professionalism that you need to?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to be, you know, on 10 every day. And, you know, I think too, that's when your staff comes in too. You know, I think your staff camaraderie, you know, some days I come in and, you know, they pick me up. You know, some days I come in, I see one of our guys on the staff. It could be a GA, it could be anybody. You know, I see he's down. You know, I might want to pick him up, take him to lunch or talk to him or whatever. So, you know, sometimes, you know, even with the head coach, coach will say sometimes to me, it's like, yo, boys, you know, sometimes you guys got to pick me up as well. You know, so I think that comes with being around each other, but the staff chemistry and that cohesion, I think, can help you in that regard too. But they pick you up sometimes as well. And sometimes the players do too. The players will pick you up as well. You know, coach, let's get it going today, man. I won't hear you today. You know, so, you know, there's different ways, but I think that, you know, you can lean on your staff, you know, as well too, to kind of pick you up on days like that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else have a last question for Coach Battle?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, Coach, what do you think about all this, like the open transfer rule for guys? Like you said earlier, man, I know you're an old school guy. I am as well. And I'm just like totally against all that. You know what I mean? I really am. I feel like once a kid, man, is committed to a school, they should go there and play, you know, unless they go into the league. But man, all the transfer portal and everything, I really feel like it's hurting the high school kids. You know what I mean? I'm really worried about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, as a high school coach, you got to be aware of it because it's going down and that's what's going to happen. If your kids aren't committing early and they wait until the spring, then they're going to have to compete against transfers. And I'm saying most schools, you know, if you got a chance to take an older guy who's already played college basketball or a high school kid, you know, a lot of schools are going to go with the older guy who can come in and play right away, you know. But unfortunately, that's what it is now. So you got to recruit that way. You got to strategically plan that way. And, you know, we got to hold scholarships open in the spring. for those situations. And also the 50th transfers as well. They play into it too.
I'm really, I mean, I don't know, man. It's kind of disheartening, you know. I really think it's going to hurt. I think it's going to hurt a lot of kids, hurt the college game. And I really think it's going to hurt the league too, just because, man, you know, everybody going to be used to transfer. And I think they're going to turn like college into AAU or something like that where, I mean, I have an AAU program. I'm not knocking AAU, so don't think that. I'm just saying, I try to train my kids like 5-10 years ago. Hey, man, we get this scholarship, you good. You know, you sit there for a couple of years and try to go to the league. Now it's like, I had a couple of my kids already, man. I think about transfer. I'm like, man, give it a chance. You know, I don't think kids want to work for spots no more. I think it's like, if I don't like it, I'm a transfer. Things opening up a can of worms is going to make it worse, you know?
Yep.
Well, Coach Battle, I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, obviously I've had the utmost respect for you since we met back in that camp, and I really appreciate you coming on and being transparent and vulnerable in your journey, and obviously humble and like you talked about, consistent in sharing with us. So, Coach, you had any closing thoughts you want to share?
No, guys, I appreciate your time. Again, like I said before, I know it's late, and you know, the biggest thing is I hope everybody on the call is maintaining being safe, and especially with this virus going on. So be safe the rest of the summer, and I appreciate you guys having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Coach. And next up, last tonight, we have Coach Kevin Broadus, head coach of Morgan State. Coach and I met a couple summers ago. Just a quick story about being prepared, being ready. Coach and I didn't know each other. He was at an event, and he knew I was plugged in a little bit. Asked me about a kid, told me he was looking for something, asked me about a kid. And I told him where to find a kid, what court he was playing on. And Coach ended up recruiting him and signing him when he was at Georgetown. So all that to say is, you know, just something simply as being in the know, being ready. You never know when that time might come. So obviously I'm grateful that our relationship didn't stop there, that we've maintained and stayed in touch to this day. So I'm going to turn it over to Coach Kevin Broadus.
How you doing, gentlemen? Glad to be on here tonight and listening to Coach Matson and a good friend of mine, Coach Battle, who I got the utmost respect for, who's, you know, I'm listening to him and saying, someone asked him, you know, what's the secret of being in the business so long? I mean, just the guy's a stand-up guy that's made himself valuable. And that's the thing I would say to all you guys that want to be a college coach or high school coaches, assistant coaches, more so assistant coaches. Out here, the best way to stay in this business is make yourself valuable. And only you can figure that out, because everyone has a different niche in this business and everyone has a different path. Mine was similar to JV's but a little different. I'm a DC guy, born and raised in Washington, DC, inner city, Northeast. Left when I graduated high school, got on the bus for 3 days and went to Grambling, Louisiana. Was a red shirt player at Grambling my first year. Stayed down there the whole year and figured, you know, being an inner city guy, being in the country, it wasn't for me. So I got back on the bus, went back and went to school at Bowie State. Bowie's in Bowie, Maryland, played 3 years at Bowie, had a very good career. Graduated from Bowie and went into business. I had a business degree, and my wife was a hairstylist. We opened a hair salon in Georgetown. I never did hair in my life. I just did the business side. I didn't get into coaching right after playing. That was the furthest thing from my mind. That's the last thing I wanted to do, was coach basketball, because I hated my coach in college. So I went into business, you know, for a couple of years. Well, we were in business for 13 years. Very successful business. Then my wife decided she didn't want to do it anymore. About the 4th or 5th year in the business, you know, you sitting around, your time is everything. And I didn't do a lot with the business other than the business side. So one day, one of the coaches, my old coach, asked me to come down and watch practice and ask me what I thought. So when I went down, I just said, hey, man, you got a lot of talent. And, you know, in turn, he was asking me, could I help him? Would I help him? Not could I help him, would I help him? And driving from Washington, D.C. to Bowie, Maryland was like 40 minutes. And doing that with no pay the first year was hard. Volunteered my first year. Second year, they paid me $700. And with that being said, I mean, it was one of the best jobs I had because money wasn't the issue for me. And I never chased money, especially in this business. And I'll get into that later. After the second year, I was afforded to go to University of District of Columbia. A lot of you guys probably don't know much about UDC. I went to work for one of my mentors who passed away, but one of the biggest and most successful guys in the Washington, D.C. area. A lot of you guys probably wouldn't know him if I said, but his name was Will Jones. He won a national championship at University of District of Columbia. And I worked there for 4 years with him, under him. And it was he's probably one of the best minds I ever worked with because, you know, where he had been, he had worked at Maryland for times. He did high school, he did it all, but he knew every aspect of the game. And when I went to UDC, I learned more about basketball and about being who I was than anything else. And it helped me. And the thing about UDC, it was, you know, it was Division II. I was a DOB, a recruiter, a scheduler. I mean, I learned every aspect of the game at University of District of Columbia. And it was probably one of the best 4 years, some of the best 4 years of my life being with that man. You know, it's always an honor to work with someone who won a national championship. So I leave there after 4 years and I go to American University. It was my first chance at being at Division I. I was at American for 4 years and we had semi-success, not a lot, but semi-success. It was my first time being assistant coach on the Division I level. And I worked with two good guys, Art Perry and Jeff Jones. Jeff Jones right now is the head coach at Old Dominion, and we still stay in touch to this day. Very good friend of mine, good guy. I leave American after my 4th year and go to George Washington and work with a guy named Carl Hobbs, another guy who had won multiple national championships. So I like to look at my journey that way. I've worked with guys who've won, and it taught me how to win and taught me what went into winning. And I spent 3 years at GW and get a call to go to a school that when you grow up in the Washington, D.C. area, you idolize. And it was my dream school to go to play basketball at, but I wasn't good enough, to be quite honest with you. So after my 3rd year at GW, I go to Georgetown. And we had an incredible run at Georgetown. My first year, we made the NIT. My second year, we went to a Sweet 16. And my 3rd year, we went to a Final Four. And that afforded me to go from there to Binghamton University, where I was a head coach. And people used to always ask me, why Binghamton? Well, you know, just being frank and being honest, being a black man in America, it wasn't like I had a whole lot of options, and wasn't like a lot of people was knocking my door down. So Binghamton had just went Division I maybe about 5 years before I got there. And one of the first years I was at GW, we played them up there, and I saw what they were building. So I took on the task and went to Binghamton. And some of you guys know me. I was there for 2 years. My first year, we finished 5th place, tied for 4th, but it ended up being 5th. And my second year, we won it. We won the regular season, and we won the tournament. And the last game I coached there was against Duke, and I was fired after that. Now, with that being said, you know, I was fired not because of wins and losses. It's just because it's the luck of the draw. When you coach 18, 19, 21, 22-year-olds, they're going to make choices sometimes that can affect your career. and you got to live with it. And some of those kids who got in trouble, I still talk to this day, you know, because like Coach Battle said, you know, sometimes the best things can happen is when these kids call you. And those kids still call. You know, I always say, I live by this. Don't be bitter, be better. And what we did there was the only and the first time in 63 years the university went to an NCAA tournament. So I lose my job. After I lose my job there, you know, I sat out a year because I was going through all the, you know, they were investigating the program, this, that, and the other. And we came out clean, clean, whatever, however you want to say it. Then I get a call, and I was on my way to Texas Tech with a guy named Gillespie. And I get a call from John Thompson. Why are you going to Texas when you just need to just come back home? Went back to Georgetown for 7 more years. And in that period, I mean, we won two or three more Big East championships. You know, we didn't have the success going back to the Final Four. And, you know, sometimes in this business, and I've learned, and I know Coach Battle knows this, you have to manage expectations. And I live by that now, because after year 13 for Coach Thompson, which was, I think, my 10th year, you know, the school said they wanted to go in another direction. And their expectations were to a point where I guess we just wasn't upholding. So they fired us. And it was one of the most confusing and puzzling things I've ever been through, because JT3 is the son of John Thompson Jr. And we never thought they were fine. But that happens in this business. So I'm sitting home. I get a call from coaches all over the country, you know, about what you're going to do. And I never forget this. And it's funny because Coach Battle said he's never used a resume. And I can second that. I've never sent my resume to a coach for a job. I'm sitting home and I get a call from Mark Turgeon. And he just said, I'm checking on you. How you doing? Fuck, I'm doing terrible. But you joke about it, you know, you feel bad, but you when you're real, you just tell, man, fuck, coach, I am fucking terrible. You know, because you don't expect that. And he came by, he said, can I come see you? And I was like, fuck, what does he want to come see me? But, you know, fine, you know, gave him my address, he came by. The guy literally sat in my living room and recruited me like I was a high school transfer player. And I was like, he's like, you ever thought about coming to Maryland? And honestly, I said no, because that was like, it was a rival, but it wasn't a rival, Georgetown, Maryland. And I said, not really. He said, you should think about it. It took me every bit about 6 minutes after he finished talking, said, yeah, I wouldn't mind coming to Maryland. I didn't have a job, just to be honest with you. So fast forward, I go to Maryland for 2 years. And Maryland won the Big Ten. We did a good job of recruiting some good players. And sometimes you don't sit around, wait around to get the fruits of your labor, but that's here nor there. So 2 years. And then this past year, the spring before that, 2 jobs in my area came open. Howard University and Morgan State. And I see some guys on here from the league, some really good coaches from the league, Coach Thomas and Coach Graves from Central, who's won the league 3 years in a row. They know probably more about the league than I do. And just to be honest with you guys, my heart was set on going to Howard. And in this business, sometimes you can't control what you think you can control. And because Howard's close to my house. I still live outside of DC. It's about 20 minutes, 25 minutes from my house. And Morgan is about 50 minutes from my house. And I commute every day. But when you're going through this process, you learn things about people that you didn't know. And I thought I was going to go to Howard. But then when I started talking to the ex-coach at Howard, Coach Nickelberry, and the ex-coach at Morgan, both of them relayed to me. They thought for what I was looking for, Morgan was a better fit. And the people at Howard was ready to hire me. And then I just remember some questions that I'm not going to repeat, put it that way, that they asked me. And I was like, maybe they're not as committed to, and I'm not saying winning, maybe they're just not as committed to the basketball full scope as Morgan is. And when you guys are talking about jobs and looking for jobs, the full scope, you got to make sure these people are committed to you as men and your families, because you're going to spend more of your time at these universities than with your families a lot of times. And one thing I learned, you know, being other places, they have to be committed to y'all just as much as you're going to be committed to them, because we do a lot for them. And I always tell people, I'm not married to the university, and the university is not married to me. At some point, all of us on this call are going to be fired. There's going to be a divorce at some point. And you always have to take that in consideration. So when I went through the process, I knew the AD at Morgan. He was my academic guy at Binghamton. And sometimes it's best to go with the known than the unknown, especially when people are telling you who they are and not knowing what they're telling you is totally opposite what you want to hear. But that's here nor there. So then I went to Morgan, and I just finished my first year at Morgan. We had an average year. We finished middle of the pack. We're not as good as Central. We're not as good as a lot of guys in the league, to be honest. I'm not going to just say Central. But we're trying to catch up. That's our goal, to catch up. And basically, you know, that's been my journey with college basketball. When I graduated college, I will say this, I didn't graduate college to be a basketball coach. It was the furthest thing from my mind. And, you know, the one thing I've learned, you know, and the best stop I had was working at Georgetown, because I got to, it was a gift and a curse, work with John Thompson Jr. And he always told me, son, don't let this game use you, use it. And that's the best advice I got, because what he was saying was, you know, like Coach was saying, Coach Matson was saying that, you know, you can burn out. We all can burn out. I always say this summer has been a blessing in disguise for me. I don't know about you guys. For 27 years, 26, 27 summers, we grinded a lot of times. JB, he knows this just as well as I. We used to go from July 7th to the 31st with no break. And when you say burn out, that's burnout. And it was the time when I first got in the game, you would go recruit damn near year round. And when Coach said about sleep, you know, that's important. But the thing that this pandemic has taught me, and it's the way I'm gonna put it is kind of, excuse my language, it's kind of fucked up, but it's real. All of us still have jobs. In some degree, all of us is on vacation. So you're not worried to a degree if you're going to get paid. You know you're probably going to get, for the most part, you've gotten paid most of the summer. And most of us know we're going back to a job. I looked at it as, I probably needed this break. I mean, for the last 26, 27 summers, I mean, it's been a grind. And when you're at the highest level, and Coach Battle's at the highest level, it can take a toll on you. It's not forgiving. Coaching, and that's his best friend. But he don't want to hear all the time, man, this school is doing that. They got this player. You're going to lose some kids. But you better get more than you lose. And that's the reason why he was afforded the opportunity to stay at Wake Forest through 3 coaches. I went through the same thing at American University. You know, the thing that you don't understand is everyone has a goal. Everyone is trying to win. No one on this chat is trying to lose. And it's a grind trying to win. So, you know, with that being said, those were my years in college, going up the ladder, as they say. And it's been an unbelievable ride. And one thing one of my coaches told me, Carl Hobbs, you know, he says, everyone can't make the NBA, but us as coaches can live just like NBA players. in a different facet. And some guys always make these comments about, I'm going to get out, I'm going to do this. You know what I always say to people? I don't know any other profession other than being an entrepreneur, when I was an entrepreneur, that I can make as much money than I do now in college athletics. I mean, I know Coach Battle's probably, and I don't want to, talk about his checkbook, but at that level, we've all made a lot of money. It's what you do with it. And one thing I am going to say with my, throw a little face. See, I didn't know all this was going on. I agreed to this last night, but the tidbits, one thing I lived by in my career, never chase a paycheck. Because it's a one-way street. You'll run into a dead end. I never chased a paycheck. When I was at American, Coach Hobbs got the job. He called me. I didn't call him. He called me because he watched me work. And that's I'm going to jump around a little bit. When you're out on the road recruiting, trust me, people are watching you. That's how you get jobs. And I never knew that. I just tried to carry myself like Coach Battle. I tried to dress the part. I didn't have my hat on. I didn't even wear hats. Have a hat on backwards, my pants hanging off my ass. I tried to dress clean cut and, however. I never had to chase a paycheck because people will know your worth. If they're straightforward and good standing people, they'll know your worth. Yeah, of course, everyone wants to make more money. There's been times I've made more money than everyone on our campus except the president and other than the president. And I wanted more money when I was at Binghamton. But when you look at it, like now, we all should be thankful for having a job during this pandemic. So my first thing is don't chase a paycheck. And I said this earlier, things are going to happen. Don't be bitter, be better. When they fired me, I had for about 2 weeks, I was bitter. Then I thought about it, they're not married to me and I'm not married to them. That was their choice, but they had to pay me, and that's the thing that you always got to understand, nobody is married to each other in this business. And that's, yeah. I heard this the other day and, I love this saying. I've heard this, the guys from Philly heard this and, in life, adversity doesn't have anyone's name on it. Think about that. It doesn't have anyone's name on it. But adversity has all of our addresses. And at some point, adversity is going to show up at your door. The thing is, what are you going to do when it shows up? Because I've had adverse times. I know Coach Battle's had adverse times. I'm pretty sure everyone else on here. Now, just know the more you go up in this business, the more you're going to have adversity. So that's one of the things I like to look at and say, just when these troubles come, like when my AD comes down the hall and say, hey man, this the deal. We may not even have, non-conference. We may not have it. I mean, these times are the new times. This stuff is real. But we need that money. So with that being said, we're going to cut your budget X, Y, and Z. Hey, nothing I can do. You're going to have to take a pay cut. You don't want to do it, but at the end of the day, you're still being paid. So that's kind of where I've been, how I feel about things out here, and, just happy to be involved in college basketball. Like Coach said, this is a 40-year plan, and I've coached over 25 pros. And when I say pros, NBA guys. I've coached a lot of them. And most of them call back. Some don't. You know, that's their choice. And the biggest thing in this business, if I can say one thing to y'all, try not to make enemies. Because you never know when you're going to cross your enemy's path. Again, just one-on-one. He may need you, she may need you. You know, y'all may need each other, but y'all enemies. I've tried in these 27 years not to make any enemies in this business, and it helps. But that, and just always know you're being interviewed when you're walking around as a coach.
Good stuff, Coach. Obviously, I really appreciate your transparency and vulnerability as well, and being honest and genuine. We'll go ahead and open up for questions. Obviously, same as always. Just introduce yourself and go ahead and ask your question.
Coach Broadus, Nigel Thomas, North Carolina Central University. A lot of respect for you, Coach. So anybody on this call, don't listen to him because they got some players. So fuck all that shit. Excuse my language. My question to you, Coach, is from your time at Binghamton to now at Morgan State, how have you grown as a coach? What areas have you grown in? How you think you're better?
You know, the one thing, the Binghamton thing, you know, and I've been in all you guys' shoes, want to be a head coach. The one thing I did not take in account when I interviewed at Binghamton, I didn't know the environment in Binghamton. I didn't know the environment. I didn't know the questions to ask. It was my resume that got me the job. When I went to Binghamton, they were down to 5 guys. I was the 6th guy. We was going to the Elite 8 to play North Carolina. And my agent, and I did have an agent at that time, called and said my client would be interested. And they kind of gave me, to make a long story short, so I go interview. I didn't know the questions really to ask, knowing what environment I was going to be in. Let's just be real. Binghamton, New York is more the background of African-American minorities are very few. And when you go into certain places, you got to know your environment. Now, with that, what I'm trying to say is, my first year, I took the team that they had. My second year, I brought my team in there. And most of those guys were African-American. And when things went wrong, people was like, we don't want that environment here. So maybe I should have brought different, looking people up there. Or maybe I shouldn't. So fast forward, now I'm at Morgan, I know my environment. I know what type of kid I can bring in, what type, because now I'm at the point in my career, hey, this may be my last shot. And I'm going to do it my way, and I'm going to do it the way I think is best for me and the program. So I learned about environments more than anything. And another thing you learn when to call timeouts and when not to call timeouts. I mean, that's just a trivial thing, but you learn a lot. I've seen a lot. I've seen at the highest level when kids just turn and say, like Coach said, to transfer. We had a kid on the Final Four team left at mid-season because he was playing 20 minutes and not 25. I mean, it sounds, like, damn. But in that kid's mind, that meant the world to him. And it's his life and not ours. And he went on and had a decent career after that. But, addition by subtraction, we didn't sit around and harp on it, let him go, moved a freshman in who became all league the next year and probably should have left and he didn't. But you learn a lot of things as you go on.
Appreciate that, Coach.
Coach Broadus, quick question for you. Hope all is well. Safek Castro at Rider University. Obviously, you've been at 2 different stops as a head coach. And putting together a coaching staff is one of the most important pieces, at least they say. What are a couple qualities that are important to you when looking at potential guys to hire on your staff?
Everyone's different, but for me, I didn't want a lot of guys that was just like me. And I don't like, my first time, I took all older guys. And, guys that were older than me other than Coach Macon. Coach Julius Allen was older than me. Coach Don Anderson was older than me, and I kept one of the guys. The one thing that I looked for the first time, and a lot of people don't know this, every guy I hired the first time I got a job at Binghamton was out of the business. And I prided myself on bringing guys back in the business. Julius Allen was out, Mark Macon was out, Don Anderson was out, and LB, who I kept, they told me not to keep him. I hired him. So my thing was to give guys chances to come back in the business. That's what I looked for that time. When I went to Morgan, I had a guy that played for me at Binghamton who knew the system that I like to run. I hired a guy out of Baltimore. I hired a guy that was on my staff at Binghamton. And I hired a guy that was at the highest level that wanted to be on the road, that was a operation guy. So everyone looks for something different. I tried to look for things that I'm not, if I may say. The first time, guys, I was trying to help bring back in the business, and then I tried this time to hire guys that I'm not, that would, are different than what I am.
Appreciate that, Coach.
Not a problem.
Coach Broadus, Kareem Brown here from Niagara County. You just touched on something about giving guys who are out of the business. Why do you think you felt you've gotten a second chance when not a lot of Black coaches have gotten a second chance?
I'm blessed. I mean, maybe that helped me. Maybe by me giving guys second chances, maybe the favor was done for me by the man upstairs, because I could have hired a lot of different guys when I first went to Binghamton, but these guys were out of the business. And this is the thing that transpired. When a lot of those guys were out of the business, I was talking to them a lot, while they were out, and I was coaching at Georgetown. And when I got a job, because we always say, like Coach said, either I'm gonna work for you, you're gonna work for me, or when I get a job, I'm gonna hire you. And it was better qualified guys out there, but I always told these guys, man, you know what? I get a job, I'm gonna hire you. And that was my thing, and I hired him. And me forwarding now to now, maybe that's the reason I don't know why I got a second chance, other than maybe that's by faith. I'm blessed, I'm thankful for it, and I'm gonna try to make the most of it.
And just a quick follow-up. Do you feel pressured, obviously, to kind of succeed and pave the way for other Black coaches?
Yes and no. Yeah, I feel pressure because I do want to pave the way and get other Black coaches opportunities. I know how important that is. But pressure, no one has told me I had to do that. And that's probably the first time I've heard a question of, to that degree. I would love to see not just young guys get an opportunity. Look at a guy that's been doing it longer than me, that I respect. One of his best friends coached me in college. And it's a shame that we all can't get opportunities to be a head coach. And you're looking at a guy that's probably never had a violation, very upstanding guy, very high character guy. I mean, he should have an opportunity to be a head coach. We should all have the opportunity to be successful or fail. We all should have that opportunity. And, but who am I, to say that, I feel pressured. I feel pressured from myself to do a lot of things. But I do want to see a lot of these young guys, older guys, get an opportunity. If that answers your question.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Coach Broadus, how you doing? It's Akeem Miscavige from Florida Atlantic University. First off, I want to say, man, I have so much respect for you and Coach Battle. When I was a youngin', even though I'm still young, when I was younger, the first thing I did was research you and Coach Battle when I used to see you guys on the road, and I read your bios, both of your bios. But my question to you, Coach Broadus, is how do you feel about agents? I know you mentioned to Nigel about an agent helping you get Binghamton, helping you get involved with Binghamton. But how do you feel about agents now? What do you think about assistant coaches getting agents?
So I didn't have a standing agent like 364, 5 days, how many days in a year. What happened was when we started making that run, I knew a lawyer and I asked him, how many guys do you represent? And he had a guy here. He had a few young ladies that he represented, but he mostly represent kids going to the pros. So I said, would you do me a favor? I'll pay you to look into X, Y, and Z. See, I'm not in favor of going out and giving an agent 3-5% of every check I get, because this is my problem with agents. And I was on a Zoom the other day, and I see the lip was on it. A couple coaches were on it, and I asked this agent, this lady, how many guys you represent? And she said 5. See, agents don't always have your best interests at heart. They got 10, 15 other people, so they'll throw a bunch of names up there and see which one catches. So I've always been under the thing where I'm not going to hire an agent for 300 days a year. I put him on retainer when I need it. That's my first thing. Agents can help you and can hurt you. Like Coach Battle said, the best thing that can help you is your resume. And a lot of times, see, now we have different, avenues and facets of how they hire people. Now we're dealing with search firms. And search firms are not for everyone. I've never, ever reached out to a search firm. My agent one time has reached out on my behalf without me knowing it until afterwards. That's the only positive about agents now when you're a head coach. For an assistant coach trying to get a job, don't take this to the bank. This is just my feeling. I wouldn't hire an agent to represent me and pay him or her X amount of dollars to be on retainer, to have your name in their Rolodex and use it when they feel a need. Now, Coach Battle, Coach Matson, a lot of you guys may feel different. That's just my opinion. I didn't have of all the years I was assistant, the only time I used the agent is when we were making that run and my name was out there about jobs. And I said, this is too much. I got to stay focused with the games, but I need you to talk to these people. I hired them on retainer, not a salary or percentage. So that's just my take on it. Now, coach may feel different. Everyone does this thing different. And I'm not saying my way is the right way or the wrong way.
Appreciate it.
Coach Broadus, this is Coach Graves over at North Carolina Central. Just wanted to ask
Are y'all spying on me tonight?
Nah, we ain't spying on you, man. Just trying to get some good information.
We ain't spying, Coach.
But I just wanted to ask you, being a DC guy and having a tough decision between Howard and Morgan, what ended up being some of the deciding factors between the two jobs? Because I know it had to be, a dream to be coaching in your hometown. You know what I'm saying? Just being the head coach at Howard.
I tell you what, and a lot of you guys don't know this, most of my career has been in this area other than going to Binghamton.
Right.
And, this is the thing. This is my feeling. And all you people at different universities, I always say, you got to know who you are as a university. And I just didn't think Howard had the real outlook on who they really were. You know, when the president sat there and said to me, you know, we want to be like Duke and Georgetown. Harvard and Georgetown. Let me get it right. I said, we want to be like Harvard and Georgetown. So I'm sitting there listening, and I'm saying to myself, does this guy know I worked all these years at Georgetown? And I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a very intelligent guy, the president. But when he started saying things, you know, like, you know, you got to know who you are as a university. And he was like, you know, we want kids with a 1350, you know, SAT 3.5. Now, I get that. Howard wants to be the cream of the crop. I got no problem with it. But the same kid, now they just got a top 5 kid now, so maybe my logic was wrong. But 9 times out of 10, a kid with a 1350 3.5 is going to go to Penn or Princeton or an Ivy League school. Now, with that being said, and Coach Battle, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to speak out of line. Most guys at Georgetown that we recruited wasn't 1350 on the SAT, first and foremost. I'm just being real. Now, they may have had the 1350s. We didn't have a lot of 1350s. Yeah, we may have had a few, but our whole roster wasn't. They want their whole roster to be 1350, 3.5 or better. Now, it's all relative once it's all said and done, but I just sat there and said, wow, this man must don't know I worked at Georgetown, because that's not how it worked. You know, that's, I mean, a kid like that's going to go to Stanford or Ivy League school or maybe Wake Forest. I mean, Georgetown, if you look at the history, yes, they have African-American kids. Yes, most of them are from the inner city. Yes, 95% of them graduated college. The ones that didn't graduate went to the NBA. And the ones that are still haven't graduated probably are still playing. The ones, most of them come back and graduate. But before they came there, a lot of them didn't have a 1350, you know, and 3.5. Now, they may have finished with that. So when the guy was telling me that in the interview, you know, I wanted to say, you got to know who you are. I know who you want to be, aspire to be, but every kid can't be like that. And that was my thing when I went to Binghamton. I want to give kids chances, because everyone can't get that. You know, like they're saying now, they want to, the NABC wants to move the ACT and the SAT out of the initial eligibility. Now, I know a couple guys on here know the whole gamut about that. Some of you guys don't know why it's in there. When you have a CEO from the ACT making $1 million and the CEO from the SAT making $850,000, and they're getting kickbacks from all these, you know, everybody taking these tests, that's big business. So you're going to have that. Now you're playing with, you know, a lot of these testing things don't tell you if you're going to be successful or non-successful. So now, with that being said, now when you're at Howard, how do you justify, you know, saying, I want that kid? And, I mean, it was all kind of things. I don't want to go on a tangent about it, but I think I made the right choice for me. Maybe not for, you know, some of the guys that came with me on the staff. They may have wanted to be at Howard, but for me and what I was trying to do, I want to play on an equal playing field. That's all I want to do. So, Coach, you could, I mean, you know, that thing about, you know, the SAT and, you know, I don't know what Providence, you know, most of these guys on here, most schools want a little bit over the general 820, what is it, 2.5. Most schools want more than that. I get that. But most schools are not telling you to go out and get 1350 and, you know, 3.5. So that was my thing with Howard.
Appreciate that.
Coach Broadus, this is Jeremy Pope, Arizona Compass Prep. I've heard a lot about you. Coach Waheed is a mentor of mine, and also Dr. Scott. taught a class of mine when I was a GA. So respect to your work and what you do. But I had a question in terms of like the fact that you're from a basketball-rich place. How do you, and I guess maybe more in your American and George Washington years, how do you go about your recruiting landscape and your, I guess, your footprint personally, being from such a rich place?
Well, you know, Coach Battle made a great point. You know, it depends on the levels. Like the footprint when I was at the highest level, Maryland and Georgetown, I would only recruit 5 guys a year. And I remember my first year at Georgetown, that was my first year at GW. You know, coming from the lower levels and from Division II, I walked in and some guys had 30 names, 60 names up on the board. I was embarrassed because I had 5 to 10 names. And I never forget this. And that's why I say you got to make yourself valuable. I remember after my first meeting at Georgetown, I had approximately 5, 6 names. And the meeting was over. I'm looking at the board before I go back in my office. And I'm like sweating and shaking my head like, wow, I'm not prepared for this. Coach Thompson calls me on my office phone and tells me, can you come to my office? And I just knew the worst. He said to me, I'll never forget this. Out of those 5, 6 guys, and 2 of them were McDonald's All-Americans. 2 of them was top in our area, and the other one was just like a wild card. He looked me dead in the eye and said, how many of them can you get? And I said, well, I think I can get the 2 from the area, but I think I can get 1 of those McDonald's. He said, that's all you need to do. You just got to know, you know, your niche. Every level is different. Like where I'm at now, I'll be wasting my time calling a McDonald's All-American. I'll be wasting my time. So I don't even get into that, you know. Even though they have a movement going on now with, you know, kids going to HBCUs. My president actually texted me one day, said, why haven't we offered such and such kid? And I said, no disrespect, Dr. Wilson, you know, I know a little too much. That kid will never go to college. I'm not gonna waste my time just to put our name out there. Because, you know, a lot of guys in this business, you know, they waste their time on certain things they can't get. And that's the thing, I've been fortunate, you know, I learned that early on. You know, you got to get in where you fit in. And, you know, your footprints, you make your footprints. You know, a lot of times we all want to get the big fish. We want to see, you know, we got this recruit. You know what? Sometimes you're wasting your time doing that. You know, you got to know how to prioritize where you're recruiting, you know, and I learned that more so at GW and AU, you know, and the beauty of it, like I always tell guys, I was afforded to making the mistakes I made at Division II. They weren't in social media like today. A lot of you guys can't afford to make those mistakes because social media eats your ass up. And I was afforded to make those mistakes. And someone asked me, what have I learned? I've learned to do things smarter, and recruiting is one of them. You know, you got to know, you got to get in where you fit in. You got to know where you fit in because I know the coaches from Central on here probably would want to get the kid, the Maker kid. We would want to get the Maker kid, but that's not for us. So I didn't waste no time dealing with it. So you got to know, you know, you got to have, if you got an end, that's one thing. If you don't have an end, you know, sometimes you be spinning your wheels. And that's the thing, especially when you get to the highest level. You don't have time to spin your wheels. And you guys are trying to get to the highest level.
Appreciate it. Coach, can I ask you a question about that? Yeah. Piggyback off this Terry here from Chicago.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, man, like you saying don't wait. Like real talk, like in Chicago, I don't know if you know, we have to recruit 8th graders and 7th graders like you guys recruit college guys. I mean, you know, high school kids. My question is, and Keem laughing, but he know it's real though. Am I right, Keem? My question is, man, sometimes You know, I have to battle Whitney Young. You know, it might be a 6'5", 6'6" kid. I like to take that chance though. You know what I mean? Even if I don't have an end. But I like to take that chance. You don't think taking that chance and man, putting your name out there with that kid, even if you don't, you know, maybe have an assistant go do it. You know what I mean? But just keep calling and keep knocking on them. You don't think that'll work?
I mean, it works sometimes. Don't get me wrong. It works sometimes. You know, it depends on your level too, where you at. Because, you know, where I'm at, I'm not going to waste my time trying to recruit. What's the kid, Mikey Moore, everybody's talking about? When that kid has no intention on going to college. Now, that could change, and then I'll be behind the 8 ball. Maybe he will go to HBCU. But I just don't have the time, and my scholarship allotment don't allow me to do that, you know, in this period of time. I only get 13 scholarships. I got to get 13 of the best players I can. And I'm throwing to get a grand slam. You know, what's the chances of that? You know, and I know Chicago was different. My last year, George, well, the last 3 years, I got 2 kids out of Whitney Young. We got LJP and Paul White.
Paul White, yeah, I remember.
Yeah, so, you know, I know a little bit about Chicago.
It's just a different beast that we live in. I want to ask you another question too, man. Like real talk, I turned 50 years old. I never had the aspiration of being a college coach, but do you think a guy I've been coaching basketball since '91. Do you think I could say, okay, you know what, I'm gonna lay high school alone. I want to coach college ball. I mean, like these young guys, you think I would, you know, just you think a person my age would have a chance to still get at that level and want to coach?
I've seen guys, high guys, older guys that's been in high school and don't age. It's what's your value. People don't look at your age when they in college basketball. What's your value? You know, do you bring value to his staff or her staff? You know, age is just another number. You know how many guys? It's funny. I was looking at something. A buddy of mine just got hired with Rick Pitino. Coach Battle, you know who I'm talking about? Abamarco.
Yep. He's been around for a long time.
How old do you think he is?
Probably 60s.
About 66. He's been out to business probably for the last 3 years. He had value to Rick Pitino. I mean, age is all relative. Think about this. Would you hire a young cat that's 20 years old if he could bring you, you know, notoriety, players, and all this to your program? You would hire him. But think about this. If a guy that's 70 years old brings, you know, something to you, see he can bring something to you're going to hire him. Age only becomes significant when you think about it and say, man, I'm 50 years old. I'm getting old. You know, we say that now. We're getting old, but we still got value.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to bring value to a program. That's what it comes down to. Age is not even the issue. Race is not even the issue. It's just, what do you bring to a program? And that's for everybody. You know, just remember, when you're out there walking the streets and you're running your program, like Coach didn't, and I knew the story about Delaware State. I knew the story. I know Coach Jones because he left and went to Kutztown and was coaching. You never know who's watching you in this business. Carl Hobbs told me that. When he called me, he said, man, I've been watching you for a long time. You never know who's watching. And that's for everybody, you know. And this is my big thing. I always tell, I got good friends in this business, and I can't say the names, but, you know, this is my thing. When I go out on the road for all these last 26, 27 years, I never went out and hung out and drank and chase women with guys because I don't need people to know my bad habits because people use your bad habits against you. Don't ever forget that in this business. They use, whether it's recruiting, whether they talk about you, they use it against you. And that's my big thing. I don't never go out drinking. You'll never see me at a Final Four walking down the street slurring, or I don't do that, because you never know who's watching you. Don't ever forget that.
Coach, Sean Tucker, Cambridge South Dorchester High School in Maryland. Question, I'm a big community service guy. What are some things that your team is doing or did or have done in the past for community service? And can you talk about that? And also talk about some things that you guys are doing or setting the guys up for the next level, life after they leave Morgan. If they're not going pro, what are some things that you're doing to kind of set those guys in the right path?
So for just getting to Morgan, doing when you're talking about going out in the communities, like we did to feed it at the kitchens and stuff like that. We didn't do a lot this year because I was learning a lot there, but we did that. We went out early in the year. We did one other thing with a clothing drive. We did that. Other than that, we didn't do much else after that. And what was your second question?
The second question, guys that, you've been around pros, but at this level, guys that necessarily aren't going pro, whether it's overseas or, to the league, what are some things that you're doing that you're putting them in position to be successful after basketball at Morgan? Maybe connecting them to business guys in the, in the area, or maybe internships. What are some things that you guys are doing?
We're working on the internship piece, but with all this that happened this spring, everyone's working remotely. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say we got guys doing this. We don't. Our guys, we had them on campus for 10 days, bringing them back for summer school. That's the one thing we're doing. We're making sure these guys get an education. We're paying for summer school. We had them there for 10 days. And all our guys tested negative. Coaches tested negative. We had one football player tested negative out of 30. Then the second 30 came in, and 6 or 7 tested positive. We sent all our guys home. And that was we could have been bitter about it. But when I sat back and thought about it, this is our new norm. And I told our guys the reason we sent them home had nothing to do with football. Because when you bring guys back, and I'm teaching them, this is the new norm. It ain't no running, going to McDonald's, going to the drive-thru, hanging out at night. And I knew some of our guys were doing it. I said, if you're not going to do right, we're not going to do this. And I don't know about all the rest of your schools. This stuff is real. This is serious business. And I know I'm getting off track with your question, but we just, for all of y'all, this is just the new norm, and as far as the internships, we have not, we had some stuff planned, but we couldn't follow through because everything's at a shutdown where we at, so.
Appreciate it.
Coach, Cody Cohen at North Broward Preparatory School in South Florida. I wanted to ask you, it was funny, Coach Hood actually put it in the chat. I saw that you guys were top 30 in offensive rebounding percentage in the country this past season. What is it that you guys do, maybe just the main factor that contributes to that stat coming to fruition for you?
Come on, man. I can't give you that because you got the Central guys on here.
Yeah, my bad.
They're going to know.
Cover your
first. Just, you know what? Honestly, you try to make your guys hungry. That's all. I mean, rebounding is not a skill. It's just an effort thing.
Effort. Yes, sir.
It's an effort thing. And, we reward our guys with effort, And I never forget this year, at the end of the year, one of the kids that was a walk-on, he had the lowest average points per game. He had the lowest all across the stat sheet. And he asked me for a scholarship. And I politely asked him, what makes you deserving of a scholarship? And I'll never forget this. He said, Coach, because I work hard. I said, aren't you supposed to do that anyway? Yeah, but I think I work harder than other guys. And the first thing I looked at was rebounding. And I said, you play 7 minutes a game. You got 1 rebound in how many games we played. And it's nothing more he could say because he knows we work at that. And rebounding gives you an opportunity to have another opportunity to score. That's how we always look at it. You know, it gives you another opportunity. So I can't give you no more than that because, you know, some other guys on here we play the Ryder guys. So, you know, scrimmage them, and I don't want them to know all the stuff, but, you know, rebounding is just an effort thing. It's a grit thing, a toughness thing.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, man.
TP, you had a question?
No, I was just going to tell Coach Broadus that I had a guy from back home, Tony Gillespie, that played for you. He always talked highly of you.
Who?
Tony Gillespie at Morgan State.
You know what? He was, yeah. I know who he is. I don't think he played for me though.
Well, okay. I think he had said something about he was going to try to be a GA for you at some point.
Okay, that's where I know that. Yeah, he was going to be. Yeah, that's what it was. He played for Coach Bowles.
Yeah, he said he'd be a GA for you at some point in time, but it didn't work out. But he talked about how you did help him as a former player.
Yeah.
When he graduated.
Coach Broadus, quick question for you, and I'm not trying to go too off topic, but it's interesting with the COVID situation. How do you feel about your guys coming back on campus, and if a player tests positive and you got to reset, like how is your mindset, especially since you're an older guy and you got some older guys on your staff? Because that's the crazy part to me about this whole situation.
You know, today was the first day, just morning, I was on the treadmill and I saw that they're close to having a vaccination. The only disturbing thing, and don't take this wrong, and truthfully, if you do, I don't really care. Not you, but everybody on here. The thing that bothered me, it was 3 people, and they were all African Americans that they were testing on. That's here nor there. How do I feel about that? You know, I don't think we can keep the country shut down forever. I do hope they have a vaccine for this vaccination that, you know, I don't know. I never looked at it like that. I just think that, you know, we have to prepare now, as this is going to be the norm for the next 2 years, because I don't know where this disease or whatever it's called came from. You know, I don't think we as a country really know that it's really from China. I don't think we really know, because if that's the case, how did it get here? I mean, who knows? But the thing is, now we have to take the safe and precautionary measures that they're telling us, because if we don't, we won't be playing. We won't. We gotta use the mask. We gotta, you know, and that's not to say that's gonna make us any safer. You know, they don't know how this is spreading, but how do I feel about it? You know, I don't think this disease is predicated on age either. I think young people can get it just as fast as older people. They're showing now babies are getting it. You know, you guys can get it. You're not immune. We all have the same systems. You know, it's just some people's systems are stronger than others. And I do think a lot of people has had it before it became, you know, very widespread. I think people were getting it in January, because think about some guys, we were talking about how a lot of guys on the team were getting sick and they were testing negative for the flu and strep throat and this, that, and the other. They didn't know what it was. Come to find out, that may have been what it was. So I don't know how I feel per se, because I do think, especially with age, and I do think young guys can get it just as easy as older guys, you know, so don't fall in the trap of people telling you, you know, like older guys can get it. Don't fall in that trap. Shit, they got all these NBA head coaches. They ended up going down there. None of them got it. I mean, you're starting to see younger guys. You're telling me, you look at, what's his name? Westbrook got it, but his coach didn't have it. you know. So this thing don't discriminate on age. This disease, what is COVID-19, is not looking for older people, or it's not looking for, you know, anybody in particular. If you're not careful, you're going to get it.
Got any last questions for Coach?
I guess I'll ask one. Adam Hood, UTSA. How you doing, Coach Broadus?
How we doing?
Good, good. I had a question. Like, when you're taking over a program, and obviously you've done it, you know, did it at Binghamton, did it at Morgan State. What's like the first thing you come in and focus on with that roster? Because it seems like obviously at Binghamton you had 2 years of a profile. You know, you completely changed obviously that roster over. But when you got there and you had to deal with the players that they had, what did you try to just make them better at? And then same way at Morgan State, I know you probably didn't get a chance to flip over that roster the way, you know, obviously you will with time. What do you focus on with that roster that you
making those guys better at what we do, how we play? The one thing I always said I would do, wouldn't do when I go to if I went to follow someone, and this is for all you guys, don't badmouth the coach that was before you. Don't, and I've heard so many guys say, man, he left me nothing. You know what? That's why you got the job. So that's the first thing. A lot of times, you know, we as humans, our human nature is to badmouth the guy before you, or say he didn't leave me nothing, they didn't do this, they not. Just when I got the job, the first thing in my mind was to get on the court and teach these guys how I wanted to play. Both places I went. And that's the main thing, because a lot of times, you know, you don't have time to go and revamp a roster right away, because APR or whatever, when you get the job, you know, the timing, you just got to make the most of what you got. And I'm big on that. As soon as I got the job, all I can do is let's get on the court, let's do some drills, let's see if they can dribble, pass, and shoot. As basic as that, dribble, pass, and shoot. And then trying to put my system in from day one. That was the biggest thing for me.
Got you. Appreciate that, Coach.
Yep.
All right, well, Coach Broadus, I appreciate you coming on, and the genuineness and realness that you share with us was really good, and I appreciate that a lot. And obviously, you know, I value our friendship and relationship that we've maintained through these years. So, Coach, I appreciate you giving us your time. You got anything you want to close with?
No, I appreciate you guys having me. Let me just say this, man. You know, and I know most of you guys have heard this before. In this business, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And that's why guys like Coach and them have lasted as long as they have. You know, it's not the quick fix. It's not the, you know, the sprinters don't always win. If you're trying to stay in this business 20, 30 years, you know, just try to do things right, man. That's the main thing. People gonna have their opinions of you. You know, I give two shits what people think of me. I just try to be nice to everyone, you know, and I just wish everyone, you know, would do that. It would make our business better. And the one thing I will say, and this is for everyone, this is a great business. Don't ever forget it. I always hear people say, oh, this is a fucked up business. No, it's a great business with fucked up people in it. You just got to try to be one of the persons that make this a better business. And that's real. I'm just being real, because this business has afforded a lot of us a good life, you know, and, you know, I always say it beats working. It beats working, because I love what I do. It ain't going to be every day. Like you say, some days you're working on a 5, and some days you're working on a 10. But it beats going, think about this. Some of you guys could be going on the front line right now in the hospital, and you're talking about COVID. And I mean, that's work. What we do is what we love to do. Most of us have been players of this game, and, you know, just love what you do, you know, and just remember, don't be one of those guys that make the business fucked up. It's a great business with fucked up people, and try to make it a great business and be a good person. That's all I got to say.
Oh, hard to top that. Well, we'll finish on that. So, Coach Broadus, Coach Battle, and Coach Matson, obviously really appreciate you guys coming on tonight and sharing with us things that we all can apply to our journey as, things start to open back up. So thank you guys, and obviously thank everyone that came on and joined tonight. Hopefully you got at least one or two things you could pick up and apply to your journey. So we'll be back again next week and kind of just keep it rolling as long as we can. So thank y'all again, and hope y'all have a great night.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it, David.
Coach Broadus, great seeing you, my man.
Likewise, man. All right, Coach.